All right, guys. Chris Brooks here with you. Another Mississippi Gridiron scoreboard show for you. Thanks for a little bit of a little part of your day. I'm still tracking down a few of these scores, but probably a little bit shorter than normal, just because we did have quite a few big teams that were off tonight. So that'll save us a little bit of time. But I do want to get to some of the big games tonight, even though, like I said, we did have teams that were off. This was still a big night of football with several big games going on. Let's get right to it. Who do we have here? Hang with me just for a minute. I'm having all kind of technical difficulties. There we go. Yeah, appreciate it. What's up? How you doing? Thanks for tuning in tonight. Jackson Prep tonight had who did they have tonight? Natchez Cathedral. I know you guys beat them pretty good. We'll get to prep here in just a minute. Hope everybody's having a good night. If you are traveling, be safe. Don't play on your phones. If you're watching this, you should have your passenger, your shotgun watching and telling you what's going on. 49-0. Big time, man. That's a big win. That's 2 weeks in a row. Jackson Prep had a big win last week over Hartfield, who actually I want to give some kudos to Hartfield here tonight too. How they were able to hang around Tupelo. We'll get to that here in a minute. But tell you what, let's get right to it. The show always brought to you by Capital Ortho, capitalortho.com, by Sound and Communications, that's soundcomav.com, and also Malone Roofing Services. Country Pleasing Sausage and Country Meat Packers down in Florence, Mississippi. Check them out. And the Rogue in Jackson will make sure you're looking good. I know Luke's been busy over there with college football going on, everybody getting their new gear for Saturdays. Not as big a Saturday tomorrow here. State has the big game at Texas A&M. Ole Miss is off, and I believe that besides Ole Miss being off, I believe Southern Miss is off. But let me get to a few of these. John, I'll track that down for you tonight. Pearl's game here in just a second. Let me start at the top though, okay? And I'm going to roll through these. Hey, and if anybody sees a comment on the screen, you should see it's right there. Okay, it's on my screen. I know it's on your screen. If you have an answer, just put it in there. If you have a score, top performer, whatever, if you will comment on X or Facebook or on YouTube, it will instantly show up here. And you can answer some of these questions if you had them. But Pearl didn't play. Appreciate that, Thomas. Thanks, dude. Let's get straight to the top. West Point won big. They played Callaway tonight. That was 42-0. And there's not a big breakdown on West Point. Went into detail on them last Friday night. That's the best team in Mississippi. Number 2, though, Tupelo. Hartfield's coming off a big loss to Jackson Prep last week. And I'm going to be honest, I thought that they would lose bigger tonight because I know that they're struggling with injuries. And I knew that was going to be difficult. They hung around Tupelo tonight. It was 7-0 at the half. And I'm not sure who all ended up being out for Hartfield tonight. If anybody from Hartfield's watching, you can tune in there. I just know they were having injury problems the last few weeks. And Tupelo's a very good football team. Tupelo ends up winning it big, but still to hang around that team like that when you've kind of been going through it if you're Hartfield, that says a lot. Here's some of the final numbers though. Tupelo did end up dominating the game. It was 35-0. Yeah, they're supposed to get their quarterback back. I believe Braylon Williams is back in a couple of weeks though, Thomas. And then we'll see, what Tupelo can do. And that's a kid I've said several times here, that's committed to Ole Miss as a defensive back, but put up big numbers at Nettleton as a quarterback. Tupelo outgains Hartfield 343-137 in total offense. So, I mean, they dominated the game. They rushed for 337 on 33 carries, so they averaged over 10 yards a carry. Hartfield with 26 carries, 75 yards. So Hartfield runs out of gas in the second half, but it's 7-0 at the half. Tupelo ends up winning it 35-0. Kylan Bobo, 19 rushes, 227, 2 touchdowns. J.J. Hill, who's kind of playing that quarterback position, 84 yards rushing. And Jarella McCoy, 7 tackles, 2 sacks, 5 tackles for loss for Tupelo. Next on the list here, and when we're done, I want to give a little bit of info on the Mississippi Alabama All-Star selections that were this week, okay? We'll get into that here real quick. Speaking of Miss Al game, I saw Will Rogers at the Northwest Rankin Brandon game tonight, pregame, and it was good to catch up with him. He was with his dad, White Rogers, offensive coordinator at Brandon. Man, Will would make a great coach if he decides to go into that one day. But it was good bumping into them. Tupelo sits at number 2. They get the win. Okay, big game tonight. Ocean Springs undefeated. They were playing Gulfport, and Ocean Springs they've been great. Not yet, Thomas. We're about to get to Brandon, Northwest Rankin. Ocean Springs, I was starting to think is the class in South 7A, but Gulfport picks up a big win tonight, and I have something here, I believe, with stats. Wade, we'll get into that here in just a minute too. MRA, the best team in the state. He's not crazy for saying that. MRA has played a very difficult schedule. The only loss being I can't remember who it was. One of the best teams from Tennessee, and that was a game that could have gone either way. But MRA is really, really good. Back to Gulfport real quick. I know Gulfport picked up the win. I believe it was 41. Ocean Springs had 28. It was 41-28 Gulfport. That's a huge win for Gulfport to kind of get them back in it. Look, South 7A is wide open. You know, Brandon's been struggling. Brandon struggled again tonight. They won. You know, I saw the second half of that one. But they beat Northwest Rankin 3-0. Brandon's been struggling. Their quarterback was out, though. Slayton Shack didn't play. They have struggled. Ocean Springs gets beat tonight by Gulfport. I don't know who the best team is in the South in 7A. Could be Ocean Springs. Could be Gulfport with the win tonight. Oak Grove is still in that conversation. Petal had a big win tonight. I don't know the score off the top of my head, but that's a big one. A big win for them. Man, I can't, it's on the tip of my tongue, but maybe it's them. Brandon's going to get back into it. They'll get their quarterback next week. They've still got to figure some things out, but that's a big win for Gulfport. What's up, Dalton? How you doing, dude? Hey, Dalton would tell you probably the greatest travel ball coach of all time is probably right here. Yeah, Thomas, you could tell. I was telling people on the sidelines of the Northwest Rankin Brandon game, you can tell Tyson Robinson's hamstring is still bothering him. They had to play him at quarterback, and they did, you know, what they had to do to get a win. Northwest Rankin let it slip through their fingers. They had an opportunity tonight and just couldn't do it. But anyway, Gulfport picks up a win over Ocean Springs. So now maybe we reset things in the South. Picayune was off. That's the number 4 team. Starkville was off at number 5. Oak Grove Petal. That's a big one, man. Oak Grove has been playing well the last 3 weeks. And then Petal played well tonight. Oak Grove sports fan, do you remember who Petal played tonight? I can't remember, but I know that they had I'll track it down here. Just give me a minute. Oxford's number 6, played at Madison Central. Madison Central misses a 52-yard, or no, excuse me, I think it was maybe a 58. I know it was deep. 58-yard, or a 50-plus for sure. I think it was 58. They miss a field goal attempt. You know, at the very end of the game, Oxford comes away with a 16-14 win. That game went about like I thought. 2 very evenly matched teams. Once you get past Tupelo in the north, I'm not sure who it is after that. Oxford was good. They have a 10th grade running back, Oxford, and that dude is a bruiser. He was the difference in that football game. I saw the first half of it. But that's a team that could do something in the postseason. We'll see. Didn't see Lane Kiffin there. I believe he showed up at the end or towards the second half, choppered in from Tupelo. I'm pretty sure I'm right on that. Y'all can tell me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure Lane was in at the Tupelo game and then made his way down to his son's game. Got a few pictures of his son. That's a sophomore quarterback for Oxford. Doesn't start, but he was on the extra point team, and they had a 2-point try there. Didn't work, but got a few pictures of him. I'll put that up later. A talented quarterback in its own right. Drew Dean is a talented junior quarterback at Oxford. Oxford looked good. They kind of looked about like everybody else. The only 7A team, at least for my money, that's looked different. And now I've seen firsthand, I've seen Oxford, Madison Central, I've seen Brandon, I've seen Tupelo, I've seen Oak Grove. Haven't seen the coast teams yet, Ocean Springs and Gulfport. I'm trying to get out there and see them soon. Germantown, had a chance to see them. Everybody looks close except Tupelo. Tupelo's a little bit better, even though West Point got them last week. And then we'll see what happens when their quarterback comes back. What else do we have here? Columbia, Lawrence County. I don't have that one, but while we're sitting here, I'll get it for you. I'm guessing Columbia, I'm going to say they won big, but I don't know that. Yeah, 40-0 is your score tonight. Columbia's good. That's a smaller school in our top 10, but it's warranted. They've had a great year. Horn Lake with Hernando tonight. Horn Lake has been back. Remember, they were a big deal when N'Kobe Dean was there. They won a state championship. If you guys will remember, they beat Oak Grove and John Rice Plumley, and they've struggled a lot since. But this year, they've been much better. No score on that one, but I'll see if I can get it for you before we get done here tonight. And then the other teams, Oak Grove tonight. What was the final there for Oak Grove? And I'm just now realizing I can't scroll through these messages, but I will get to them here in just a minute. Let me make sure I can't scroll through that. Yeah, I bet it does. Y'all had a shot at that 2018 title game, sports fan. I was there. Man, that was an awesome game, though. You had N'Kobe Dean on one side of the football going at it with John Rice Plumley. That was a lot of fun. 28-25, Oak Grove gets the win tonight. Okay. Over, I believe they played Houston, just off the top of my head. So maybe Oak Grove is back in this. And I know West Harrison sitting at number 10. They won, I believe, 27-26 tonight over D'Iberville. That was two undefeated teams on the coast. West Harrison has a running back named Jordan Stapleton, a big deal talent at running back for those guys. Gives them a chance against just about anybody. I would like to get down there on the coast and see. Tonight would have been perfect. Gulfport, Ocean Springs, West Harrison, and D'Iberville. But I just couldn't get away this weekend. Oh, Houston, Tennessee. Thanks, Thomas. I was wondering, man. I would have thought nothing against Houston, but that's a smaller school here. That's a good win then. Hernando 22-21. Wow, over Horn Lake. Horn Lake suffers their first loss of the season. That's the top 10 around the state. Little 10. We're just, by the way, we're doing away with this Little 10 thing I've been doing. I don't like it. I'm going to do a top 25 this week and mix and match. I'm not sure where I'm going to put MRA. But MRA beat Catholic tonight. To give you an idea of how good a win that is, Catholic was ranked number 4 in Louisiana. They lost last week. They were 3-1 going into tonight. MRA beats them 27-26. So they fell in the rankings a little bit. Catholic, that is. And then last year, Catholic was 11-1, lost, I believe, in the title game, and finished the year ranked 4th in Louisiana. So it's a perennial top 5, top 10 team in Louisiana. Weaver, what's up, man? Let me talk a little bit about that, MRA. Here's the issue why I haven't. I'm one chicken out here. Here's the real reason why I don't. I haven't mixed up the public and the academies for two reasons. For one, I just didn't want to do it, man. People it gets tons of clicks, but at the same time, it gets lots of pushback. Not that I'm averse to that, but you know what I mean. And it's not 100% fair. The academy teams, and look, and I don't have a dog in this. I have friends, public and private. But private school coaches would tell you this. Their schedules, by no fault of their own, Herbert has scheduled as hard a first half of his season as he can. Second half won't be near as hard, just because the huge disparity. I don't know where disparity came from. That's not even a word. But huge difference between your top teams in the MAIS, and then you get past the first four, and there's a big gap. These public schools are playing schedules that week in, week out. They're really physical. MRA can beat anybody, and they've proven it. Beat Oak Grove last year. If it's a one game, MRA versus anybody this year, I think I would put them West Point or them one. If they had to go through that entire schedule for the year, then I'd have to think about it a little more. Just because depth comes into play, and MRA has depth, but the biggest difference between the academies and these 7A publics is depth. You just have way more kids. Appreciate that, Thomas. It's a big D word, man. But it's not exactly apples to apples, so it's harder to make that comparison. If I'm ranking teams right now, MRA is really good. They have a lot of Division One talent. They have a lot of good players that aren't Division One kids, but are good high school football players, and they're incredibly well coached. They just beat Catholic. They have gone 6-1 against maybe the hardest schedule anybody's played to date. It'll back off here on the second half, but it may be MRA. But they pick up a big win from Catholic tonight by 27, I believe it was 27-26, something like that. And that's bragging rights for our state. You know what I mean? So I'm proud of the kids at MRA, proud of Herbert, happy for him. JA gets a big win over Mac Heights. That's like MRA beats JA last week, okay? That drops JA to 4-1. And then I'm sitting here looking at tonight, Mac Heights is a really good academy team. This kind of makes my point a little bit. That's a very good private school team. And then the score tonight, JA wins that game 52-0. So huge discrepancy between the two programs there. MRA, what they stopped some. That's what I assume that Weaver. I was not watching. I was listening to it in the car on the way home, and I saw it was 27-20. The pick six, I believe, tied it up. I believe, or something like that, and then MRA hops back up with another touchdown to go up 27-20. And then Catholic scores, and they don't get the 2-point conversion. But MRA is great this year. I'm going to have to think deep about the top 25 where I'm going to put them. I honestly, I don't know. Like they're going to be high. I don't know where I would put JA is probably a bigger question, especially after seeing them last week with MRA. But man, MRA is as good as anybody. And this year, especially, I would have liked to have seen Sam Stockett play in something like the Miss Al game. We had those selections earlier this week, and there's reasons that we don't mix and match those. It would be fun, though, to pull some of those kids and add them, Braylon Womack or Sam Stockett, and what he's been able to do. Couple of the scores here real quick. We're not going to be here all night. Park Lane and Pillow. Park Lane ends up getting that one. What was that final score? Hey, thanks for you guys for putting some of these scores in the comments too. Appreciate it. Park Lane ends up the winners tonight, 35-0 over Riverfield. Excuse me, that was at the half. Here we go. 35-0. They called off the dog second half. Macomb beats Poplarville 35-34. Wow. That's a nice rebound for Macomb. You know, they lost to Brookhaven a couple of weeks ago, and Poplarville is loaded this year. That's a good win for Macomb. Here around our area, Copiah beats Silliman 18-8. See what else I have here. A few others that weren't in the rankings, but games I wanted to at least mention. Got to Gulfport. Shannon beat Pontotoc big tonight, 65-29. Got to the Oxford game and some thoughts on the Chargers and what they could do this year. Choctaw County, big winner tonight, 48-6. See if there's anything else. DeSoto Central ends up beating, I believe that was a team out of Tennessee, 44-28. Got JA in here, MRA, the Gulfport win. Like I said, Petal beats West Jones, and that's a big win for them. West Jones is a good program. And that catches me up for the most part tonight. Brandon wins 3-0 over Northwest Rankin. Some of these teams that are maybe outside of our rankings, let me get to a few of them real quick. For instance, outside of your top five, like Horn Lake was number 5. They go down tonight. Hernando gets them. Oak Grove was 6. I mean, and these are teams don't write off. There's not a lot of difference in 1 through maybe 1 through 10 this year. This is the most parity I can remember. The only thing that would, I say, screw up the disparity, it's not screwing it up if you're Tupelo. Tupelo is the deepest team. They just don't have a quarterback at the moment. When Braylon Williams comes back in a few weeks, that gives them an SEC caliber player or a SEC athlete at quarterback with all of those other guys in the backfield. They're big up front, big on defense. They may end up being head and shoulders better. But at the moment, 7A is as close as maybe I've ever seen it doing this for 16 years. I mean, Oak Grove was 6th. West Harrison's undefeated at 7. You know, Madison Central, they lose another one tonight to go to 3-3, but they've been in all of these games that they've lost. That could easily turn into wins in the playoffs, especially with, you know, Toby Collins running the show over there. And then Petal tonight, they get a big win over West Jones to move to 4-2. That's the 10th ranked team in 7A. A few of these other classes, I still think Picayune is the team to beat in 6A. Yeah, that Macomb beating Brookhaven. And I thought Brookhaven was the team to beat in that class. And they still may be, you know. And then Brookhaven, they also lost to Northwest Rankin after beating Madison Central. So try to make sense of that. I believe Picayune's still the team to beat in 6A. I'm watching Warren Central, and we'll go through this quick. In 5A at the moment, West Point head and shoulders, and Brookhaven has talent, but still West Point head and shoulders at the moment. Columbia is that team in 4A, but I mean, you have Louisville and Poplarville right there. I want to see what Kosciuszko can do. They're undefeated, and Macomb for that matter. Then also, I'm checking my rankings out here. I don't like how we have some of these. 3A, Noxubee County, Raleigh, Choctaw County at the top. I believe all of those are close. At least what I'm hearing and what my eyes tell me, just looking at the scores and, you know, checking around the state. Heidelberg's the class of 2A. And then in 1A, I think that's Calhoun City. We'll see if Simmons could hang with them, but it's Calhoun City. And then in the MAIS, I can't see anybody beating MRA. JA is going to give it a shot. And then if you go down one notch from that top level of academy, assuming Park Lane ends up in that next echelon, Park Lane, I don't see anybody getting. Holmes County 42-0 over Greenwood. That's a good win. Holmes County could. The only problem Holmes County has is the team ahead of them. You know, West Point sitting there at 1. Holmes County's good. Brookhaven is good. I think in any other year, you know, maybe they're factoring in, and maybe they still can. But I was told preseason this was one of West Point's stronger teams, even without the big names. And so far, that's how this is playing out. And a couple other ones here. Then for the academy folks, when you get outside of that top 4A part, you get to 3A, Tri-County and League. It'll be those two teams that battle it out, and we'll see. It could be close. But just a recap of our top 10, and then we're going to get out of here. West Point sitting there 1. They beat Callaway big. Tupelo beats Hartfield big. Hartfield's really banged up, so I wasn't shocked about that. Hartfield's got to get healthy and get some guys back. Ocean Springs at number 3, they fall to Gulfport. Hey, Coach Pinnock, that's a huge win for Blake Pinnock for that Gulfport program. So congratulations to you guys. Picayune and Starkville were off. Oxford goes into the jungle at Madison Central. That's a huge win for the Chargers. They're legit contenders in the North. The playoffs are going to be fun this year, especially in 7A with so many good teams and it's so deep. It's going to be it's going to be a lot of fun. Columbia is still the class. Horn Lake falls tonight. Columbia big over Lawrence County. Oak Grove over Houston to go to 4-2, and then West Harrison over D'Iberville. Guys, always appreciate y'all tuning in. I think that's going to wrap it up. There's really nothing else to get to. College tomorrow, you have your big Mississippi State game. Back in the day, this would have been a huge game. Florida State's playing Miami. I was telling my kids about that today. Not as much anymore, but back in the day, that was a big one. Ole Miss is off and Southern Miss is off. Maybe State can do something with A&M. Hey, and just a shout out to Mississippi State. I wasn't expecting a whole lot this year after last year. I was just expecting improvement. And you saw what they did last week with Tennessee. You can make an argument. They should have won that game. But to make that level of improvement from last year to this year, for Jeff Levy, that's a big deal. I mean, I'd give you a clap here, but we're not going to do that. That's a job well done. I know they don't want moral victories, but they couldn't stay on the field with Tennessee last year, and then they should have won the game this year. So that's a nice job in the offseason. And while we're on it, all of this NIL talk, there's more parity in college football than ever. I think people are finally getting over players being paid, which I'm glad they're being paid. But we need more structure with all the transferring. That's got to get fixed. But Ole Miss sitting there at number 4. Congratulations to Lane Kiffin and those guys. That's back-to-back years they've reached the top 5. There's more parity in college football now than there's ever been, at least in my lifetime. And that's a lot of fun. And it's good to see. I'm an Ole Miss fan, so to see them up there with a chance to go to the playoffs, that's good for college football because there's lots of fans of team like me who their team has always been out of it in terms of like actual relevance. And the way we're doing it now, it makes it possible for those teams. But enjoy your Saturday college football, your NFL on Sunday. I have big news coming up next week that I can talk about. I just can't do it yet. Something I'm really excited about. But I'll bring that to you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in. All these messages I'm looking at, top 25 coming out this weekend for high school where I mix and match the academies and the MHSAA. I'll do that this weekend and get that out for you guys. Always appreciate you. God bless. Y'all be safe traveling. And we'll talk to you guys later. Y'all be good.